Everyone, thank you everyone for being here. Today we are entering a very important session of this unit, and we were going to be discussing Chatushloki Bhagavatam, and also we'll begin our discussion today with a little kind of recap on the penance of Lord Brahma. So let's begin with the Mangala Charana. I will share my screen so you have the verses there. And let's pray to the Lord, to our spiritual masters, that we can derive the actual meaning of this most confidential knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Khanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishpare Prishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Vipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Dita Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishna Yanamastute Asadu Saduta Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Mamahadana Manishtara Kamadvagya Madananda Namastume Asadu Sadu Tadayim Atini Chochatakara Hanamuncha Kadachimam Premna Ritkanta Yospura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all for being here, and since we have a few members who have not yet joined us, so I would like to take this time to go through what we discussed on the last lesson in regards to the penance of Lord Brahma. Now, the context was that at the beginning of creation, well, going back, the context was the question by Parikshit Maharaj about what is the difference between the form of the Lord and the form of the living entity. And in order to answer the questions, Sukadeva Goswami relates the historical incident when Lord Brahma, at the beginning of creation, was bewildered about how to proceed with the creation, and he performed penance. And by that performance of penance, he was able to please the Lord, and the Lord, being pleased by Brahma's austerities, revealed the spiritual realm to him. And then we requested you to select some important statements from these verses. We did all these. I think, however, it's so important that I wanted to, because we were a bit we went over through it a little quick. So I just wanted to do a little recap through all that again quickly. And so here are some of the statements here. Are you all with us? Yeah, everybody okay? Perhaps you may recall some of those, before even I put them there. What were some of those statements? What were there some of? What did we learn? What did we learn from the penance of Lord Brahma, or what did you learn from the penance of Lord Brahma? Mahavira Rupa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Lord Brahma, during his presence, I understood that Lord Krishna is not pleased by just austerity or tapasya. He is pleased by the mood in which the tapasya is done, whether it is being having any hidden motives or hidden agenda, or whether it is to just please or serve the Lord. So for the pleasure of tapasya, that is the lesson I learned from him.
Okay, good. Important point. Okay, someone else? Karunatara Matayi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my obeisances. Prabhuji, what I've learned is that in material world, everything is dead. It is the image of the spiritual world. Whereas in spiritual, everything has life. And Krishna is not interested in the material world. Comes here to take us from here. He does not come here. He's not interested to come here because he is enjoying there. But he has a lot of compassion for us. That is why he has come for the devotees to take us from take us out from this material world. That is what I'm.
Okay, so thank you for that. So,
yeah.
In order to take, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
Sorry. Go ahead. Finish. I thought you had finished.
Yeah, that is the thing. So we should know this, and we can know this by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That is very important, and we should be able to preach people. That is the main mission and mood of Prabhupada. That is the thing.
Okay, so now, in order for us to go back home, back to Godhead, okay, what is the relevance of penance? Anyone? Raise your hands, unmute yourselves. In relevance for us to go back home, you see, that's why I wanted to revise this section. This is very important, very, very important, okay? And I'm just giving a few seconds, and Yamaster Prabhu has a hand up and a few others, but I wanted to all think, what is the relevance of penance in order to help us go back home, back to Godhead, okay? Okay, let's see Mahamani and Madhumati.
Is basically sadhana bhakti, the process. We have to go out of our comfort zone to do the sadhana bhakti, and then regulated worship and regulated sadhana. Basically, the abhidaya, the process. One can be within the comfort zone and comfortably doing, but the Lord appreciates if we go beyond our ability and do something for the Lord, and then the Lord really appreciates that.
Nice. I like, this penance basically is going out of your comfort zone. That's what it means. Okay. So what does it mean? Okay. In other words, how do we go out of our comfort zone? Prabhupada makes many different statements in these verses, in these purports. So what are some of those statements? How do we implement this in our lives?
Going for book,
And also, and okay, answer that. Yeah, go ahead.
going for book distribution outside. Yeah, and preaching. In preaching, sometimes it's risky to preach as well, certain places. So preaching any situation.
Yeah, yeah. Preaching is an austerity. It is indeed an austerity. But the point about preaching is that even though it is difficult, what? We get a lot of reciprocation from the Lord. So I always find it like that for me. I haven't done it now for a while. I should have maybe done it here more, but also because lockdown. But I will go regularly on book distribution because that will be like a reality test. And I'm saying a reality test in the sense that, coming out on book distribution will help me to see about where I am, how much I am in touch with reality. I don't know if that makes sense. That, we can go on with our daily sadhana or whatever it is, but we may fall into the trap of becoming mechanical or becoming too comfortable, And the mind's tendency is that we want to make arrangements for our comforts in the world. But when we are thrown out into the streets we put ourselves, not that we're thrown out, but we throw ourselves into the fire of Sankirtan, and it's so many uncertainties and so many, possible challenges that may come across, how your mind reacts to that, how comfortable you are in that situation of actually doing that service for the Lord, which is selfless. You're not getting, in that sense, you're doing it for the Lord. You're not getting any sense gratification in one sense. So, I will do this on a regular basis, and that will help me. Never mind, I'm saying that this is the principle, that we have to get out of our comfort zone, either with book distribution or with anything. But it's important that we do some extra penance, Okay, so let's see some of the quotes. I see, and and the point is that the Lord is revealed to those devotees who are doing this. Okay? So some of the quotes where it says, this penance is the beauty of the well and the wealth of the Brahmanas and the renounced order of life. By tapasya only can one get the profit of human life. What is the profit of human life? Self-realization, Krishna consciousness. And that's performed when we voluntarily take some difficulty upon our shoulders for the pleasure of Krishna. And that may be, we're just saying book distribution, but it's so many things that we can do. Okay, and I'm going back to, okay, let's see more questions. And then these are very, very like inspirational quotes from Prabhupada's teachings, in this section of the penance of Lord Brahma. And we should take them to heart. Following the order of the spiritual master is the only duty of the disciple and the secret of success. That's a tapasya also. The spiritual master may ask us to do something that we don't want to do. And that or maybe we want to do it, but we find it difficult to do it. And the mind is resisting to the idea that I should do this, but no, we go ahead and do it. And we make spiritual progress. We get Krishna's mercy. I'm sure you have examples in your own life of this happening. Now, Krishna is saying that penance and I are non-different. Okay. So he says either voluntary submission or being forced by the Lord, penance is necessary for attaining perfection. And this is the point I wanted to bring in now, that even if we don't do it voluntarily, if we are sincerely trying to get Krishna's mercy, okay, fasten your belts. Krishna's mercy is going to come in the way of some difficulty. Because that difficulty is necessary for attaining perfection. And we were discussing how, advanced devotees, they have been put through many different tests. And through being under that pressure and taking the shelter of the Lord, one becomes cleansed of material contamination. Make sense? Now, in verse 23, which is a really beautiful verse, it says that the Lord favors such a foolish devotee by snatching all that he may possess in the world. Okay, so I'm going to read the full quote because without the previous, it's kind of hard to understand. It says, okay, again, it's a little sobering words, okay? One cannot enjoy material illusory prosperity if he desires to return home, back to Godhead. One who has no information of the transcendental bliss in the association of the Lord foolishly desires to enjoy this temporary material happiness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if someone sincerely wants to see the Lord and at the same time wants to enjoy this material world, he is considered to be a fool only. One who wants to remain here in the material world for material enjoyment has no business entering into the eternal kingdom of God. The Lord, now this is it, the Lord favors such a foolish devotee by snatching all that he may possess in the material world. If such foolish devotee of the Lord tries to recoup his position, then the merciful Lord again snatches away all that he may have possessed. By such repeated failures in material prosperity, he becomes very unpopular with his family members and friends. In the material world, the family members and friends honor persons who are very successful in accumulating wealth by any means. The foolish devotee of the Lord is thus put into forcible penance by the grace of the Lord, and at the end, the devotee becomes perfectly happy, being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, penance in devotional service of the Lord, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord, is necessary for attaining perfection, and such penance is the temporary potency of the Lord. I think it was Dinabandhu Prabhu was telling the story about, this kind of piece of like mud, the potter gets the piece of mud and then he gives it shape and then puts it on the whatever it's called, that roller pot, and he's hammering, giving it shape. Like in Vrindavan, there is the thing that they compare the spiritual master to the pot maker, because if the pot maker is with one hand is giving shape to the clay pot, but with the other hand is hammering, right? Okay, so after all that discomfort, the clay pot is thrown into the oven to kind of become hard, and it's painted, and all throughout it's like so difficult, but at the end what you get is a beautiful piece of art, beautiful shape, beautiful color. So the Lord is also giving us shape. It's bringing us to our actual spiritual original constitutional position, and in doing so there is going to be some purification. So the reason I'm saying this is because we should expect it. And when it comes, we should embrace it. We should see it as the mercy of Krishna. Huh? Now, yeah, I don't know if I told you last week. When I was a brahmachari, I had this on the wall of my room, you know. He wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. So what does it mean being painstaking? What does it mean, this statement? You can unmute yourselves.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. Well, Mahavira,
Hare-
let's hear someone. I mean, I really appreciate your comments, but it's just
Thank
that
you.
some of the people are not commenting so much. Let's hear someone else. Rajshekar Prabhu.
Yeah. It is that painstaking means you are doing this thing out of comfort zone. You are totally engrossed in devotion service.
So what means comfort zone? Going out of your comfort zone, practically, what it means? Give me an example. Anyone can give me an example. What means going out of your comfort zone? Mani Gopal Prabhu, Mani Gopal, tell us, what is going out of your comfort zone for you?
Hare Krishna. I think, for example, I'm happy here by chanting, sitting quietly in this place. Why should I go and speak to the people? Because I have ego. I don't want to talk to the people. They may accept me well or may not. So better I sit here and chant my own rounds.
Okay. Good example. Good example, you know. I mean, everybody's like, book distribution key, yeah, well, yeah. But when it comes the time to do it, you know, because it's hard. I have been almost in tears, you know, approaching people because it was so hard, you know. But when you do that, when you actually get out of your comfort zone, you realize that it's actually more painful to be in your comfort zone than to be out of your comfort zone. If I told you this, please correct me, but there was, you know, I think it was one of my first days on book distribution when I was like a full layout, okay? And I was in the north of England, I was in a market town. And these are like very tiny, you know, towns. And there is not that many people. It's not like a big city, which is lots of people. It's just market town means, well, the market is on, people wandering around, and then it becomes very quiet. And then it started to rain, to snow, okay? It was November, December. It was very cold and it was snowing. And I was in the middle of the market town holding one of these collecting cans. And I have my book back, you know, and people will come give a donation. I will give them a book. But when it started to snow, there was not a soul there. I was just there myself. And I was thinking to myself, if any of my friends sees me here, I mean, never mind my friends, if anyone, people who are working around here, if they see me, they must think that this guy is crazy. What is he doing in the middle of the road, you know, in the cold, holding a can, and, you know. And I was thinking to myself, you know, I come from the south of Spain. It's like super good weather most of the year. People come from all over Europe, the Middle East, just to enjoy the beach and the sun. It's called Costa del Sol, okay? So even more of a contrast, you know, from where I was born. And I was thinking, but, you know, I'm happier than I was happier than I would have. I had never been in any of those beaches enjoying the sunshine. I was feeling so much connection with Krishna doing this. And that gave me so much strength in my spiritual life, because I realized that real happiness doesn't come from gratification of the senses. No, it comes from pleasing Krishna, because that situation was totally unfavorable for my senses. I was cold, my feet were getting wet. Not that many people were around selling, you know, not that the books were flying out either. But I felt Krishna was pleased. So, you know, and that became like a samskara for me, that, yeah, actually, when I do go out of my way, of my comfort zone, you wanna call it, to please Krishna, then Krishna is pleased and I'm satisfied, I'm happy, Okay, so how painstaking the devotee. So we can give many examples, but one example that I would like to give is that we have to keep ourselves in the mode of goodness, and that's painstaking for someone who is not in the mode of goodness, because the mind wants to be in ignorance, the mind wants to be in passion. So keeping yourself on, with the truth, be truthful with your words, be truthful with in your life, with your actions, and being clean. I have traveled a lot. I've visited many houses of devotees. And I must say that not all the houses are very clean. Prabhupada wanted revolutionary cleanliness. So that means that I'm cleaning the whole house. Why? To please the Lord. The deity is here. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's another painstaking situation. Painstaking means paying attention to the details. I'll mention a person here because I never said it, but I went one time to Vira Gopal's house, and I went into the kitchen. I was getting something from him. And I noticed that his former wife, Induleka Mataji, had everything so neatly put into little boxes. Everything was just like perfectly organized, perfectly arranged. That's bhakti. That's bhakti. That's being painstaking. Painstaking means paying attention to the details. It's these small things. So it's not that just getting the book back and going out on book distribution. It's in everything that we do. We have to pay attention to the details. When we are chanting Hare Krishna, are we paying attention to every syllable? How we are sitting, the decisions I'm making, what I eat, how much I eat, what time I get up, what time I go to bed, how much time I read every day, how much do I associate with devotees, how much I tolerate the devotee even though they are provoking me or they are insulting me or they are abusing me, or I think they are, and how much I am gonna just be humble and take it on, because that's what a devotee means. A devotee means being humble. So these are all principles by which we gain Krishna's mercy in our lives. So that's why I put it on my wall, how painstaking, because don't expect that the journey out of the material world is going to be easy. It's a misconception. It's just that now that it's not going to be easy doesn't mean that it's not going to be pleasurable. This painstaking means pleasurable, ironically speaking, because when you do actually the right thing, you feel satisfied. So love and penance combined please the Lord. Okay? And I think I read this. Did I read this last week? Anyway, I'll read it again. Austerity indeed is my Shakti. It is my heart. This means that I desire that the jiva give up enjoyment of material life, since that is favorable for bhakti. It's a fever, okay? Material enjoyment is a fever. Now, also, we need to be we have to apply this according to our situation, okay? A grihasta, a brahmachari, a vanaprastha, a sannyasi, they have different levels of material enjoyment, okay? And this principle is applied to different ashrams and different situations, all right? Particularly for those who are in the grihasta ashram, you may need to accommodate for the members of your family, okay? However, when the goal of life becomes to fulfill our material enjoyment, then we're in Maya, we're totally caught, okay? And then Krishna may need to come and wake us up, Okay, yasyaham anugrinami harishyata dhanam shanai. I will gradually take away the wealth from the person to whom I show mercy. These words are well known. If that austerity is performed for attaining me, it is my heart, but not otherwise. Without me as a goal, austerity is without life, like a corpse. Okay, I think I seem to remember that we read this last week actually. Okay, so that's the recap. I just wanted to do this. As it is, we're taking more than the 15 minutes that we added to the class. Okay, so now I ask you to do as homework, share one thing that you could do based on these statements to improve your spiritual life. I already given many examples. Please, all of you kind of write something on the chat box. Okay, what could you do to improve your spiritual life, which is going to, based on this principle that we're discussing. And meanwhile, I'll read some of the comments. Shimanita Das said, my parents be detached from our material attachment, precise. Manigopal, I want to hear always about good things about me, praising me. Every word speak to me sweetly. But if anyone teaches me with the strong words of Shastra, I do not like that. Even if I have lower modes, I'm not ready to come to the higher platform. Okay. Yeah. That's honest. Thank you for that. So please, everybody write something down. And there was a few hands up. Okay. If you wanted to add something, those who had their hands up, you can do it now. Vira Gopal, sacrifice my lust and anger. But how are you going to do it? The thing with this is that this is very broad, okay? Gopal Ganasha, I want to be situated always in the mood of goodness. How that is going to be, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to measure that you have sacrificed your lust and anger? How are you going to measure that you are more in the mode of goodness tomorrow than today? It has to be tangible. It has to be tangible. What actions are you going to take? That's what I'm looking for. This is too broad. Okay? Sacrifice my anger. When do I display anger? And what can I do so that I don't display? That's the answer to the point. Okay? Attentive chanting. Yeah, but how will you know that your chanting is more attentive also? That's a little closer, but how will you measure it? Okay? Is it clear what I'm saying or not? After reading these statements, I want to fully focus on instructions given by my spiritual master and will try to stick to all that. Again, so broad. So broad. What instruction, Vinay Damodar? Tell me one instruction, two instructions that you're going to follow. You're going to stick to them. Okay? And that you're not maybe doing right now so much. Clear? I want those people, all of you, like Gopal Ganashraya, Vira Gopal, Vinay Damodar, write something specific. Maintain study while preaching also, Trivanga Sham. Okay, so that means what? I'm going to study 3 days per week. I'm going to study 1 day per week. How long am I going to study? Which book I'm going to study? Please be precise. The more precise that you are, you write it in paper, you will do it. But if it's just broad, it will not happen so much. Well, it may happen, but it may take more time. Okay? Okay, is it clear what I'm asking you to do or not?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is clear.
Okay, at least for your screen. Okay. Shimanitai, by nature I am shy and uncomfortable with that. I intend to come out by voluntary speaking with devotees. Okay. And how will you do that? Okay. How will you do that? It's going to be, again, like once a week, once a day. Be strict with time. Service for the Zevi, like making them sleep on time at 9 p.m., reach Temple Mangalat by 5:25, starts at 4:30. Okay, that's it. That's something very specific, very clear. Okay? Nice. Take the burden voluntarily for the pleasure of Krishna. Do seva, spend for Krishna. Again, what is too broad? It's too broad, Sachitanaya Prabhu. Something precise. Like, for example, I want to be more attentive with my japa, right? So what am I going to do to make my japa more attentive? Okay, I'm going to make sure that I chant 16 rounds in one go before like 7 o'clock in the morning. Because if I do that, my chanting quality is going to increase. Okay, or I am going to chant my rounds in front of the altar. I'm not going to walk up and down. Whatever it is that is going to increase my attentiveness. That will be something tangible. I'm going to pray before I start doing my chanting. I'm going to recite 6 Astakam prayers. And I'm going to bring the chanting deep into my heart as I pronounce each name. Okay, so that's something. It's a tangible, you know. Okay, Vira Gopal, by critical self-evaluation and open to receiving criticism. Okay, that's more tangible now, okay? But the critical self-evaluation, how are you going to achieve that? That will be even more interesting to know. But being open to receiving criticism, that's something tangible, okay? Next time that someone comes to us and say, well, Prabhu, you know, that thing that you did, and it's like, what? You know, how can you say that? You know, like we can measure it. We can accept. Someone is giving us some open room for improvement, maybe right, maybe wrong. We'll take it. Mahamani, practice regulated sadhana, waking up always in Brahma Muhurta. Okay. So always means every day. So what time? What time am I going to get up? Say exact time. I'm going to get up at 3 o'clock every day for the next, what? 30 days. You see, you understand? It's a lot more precise. Murari Prabhu, the Bodhi Sanguru will be pleased with me. Totally broad. How will they be pleased with you, Murari Prabhu? What are you going to do to please them? That's what we're looking for. What are you going to do? Exactly. How are you going to please them? Shiva's Pandit. Like, you know, what am I going to do? Okay, well, I'm going to make an effort to serve the devotees. Every time that I get an opportunity to serve prasadam, I will serve prasadam. Every time that I can make a little sacrifice to help devotees financially, I will help devotees financially. Every time, you know, something specific, tangible. Okay, I want everybody to just unmute yourself at this point and tell me if you understood this point clearly or not. Because this is, if you're not getting it, I'm repeating myself here a lot. But you know, the messages are still very vague.
Yes,
Is
Prabhuji.
it clear?
Got it.
Got it? Okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Shiva's Pandit. Discipline myself in a spiritual life, okay? Now, wake up more early. Okay, wake up more early means what? What time am I going to get up? So I'm getting up at 6 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to get up at 5. I'm going to have 4. Chant 16 round in the morning itself. Okay. Do yoga asanas. Okay. How many times a week? 7 days a week, 5 days a week. Focus on the spiritual life. How will you focus on the spiritual life? Listen to lectures daily. Okay, that's clear. I'm preaching more Bhaktivaibhava. Okay, that's measurable. Yeah, nice. That was a good one, actually. I like it. I want Gopal Ganesh. I want to be consistent in getting up early and chanting my rounds in early morning hours. Okay, so keep a track of it. Make yourself a schedule. Okay, 30 days. What time am I getting up? What time am I going to bed? Write it down. Keep a track. That's how you'll know if you are consistent. If you're not keeping track, you will never know. You have to keep a track. Clear? That's what means being painstaking. Devotee at least 2 hours every day to listen to Srila Prabhupada. Devote at least 2 hours every day to listen to Srila Prabhupada lecture. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so set yourself a target. Set yourself a target that is also doable. Okay, if you can do that, all glories. But that's a lot. 2 hours a day. Okay, that's the kind of thing that you're doing Kartik and things like that. Anyway, I do listen a lot because I listen more than, and not Prabhu, I listen different things, but that's a lot. Okay, so if you can do it good, set yourself something that you can do. Vinay Damodar, reading and preaching Bhagavad Gita, chanting and motivating others to chant, fix to my rounds, 4 principles, association of the bodies, always serve in the temple. Okay, getting better. Rajshekar, text 3. Again, NOI text 3. Rajshekar, but what are your challenges in following text 3? What is your challenge? That's what you need to write. This is my challenge in following text 3. Okay? I want to be enthusiastic. What is it? I forgot now. Utsahan Nishchaya Darya. Is that text 3 or text 2? I always get confused.
That's right.
Yeah, Utsahan Nishchaya Darya Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat. So, okay, I'm going to be enthusiastic. How are you going to be more enthusiastic, Rajshekar? How are you going to be more confident? That's the point. This is about being introspective. You have to be introspective. Okay? Where I am right now, and where I want to be. Vina, always take consultancy of authority for your further improvement. Okay, that's tangible. Manigopal, I want to practice tolerance in the provoking situations. I will always remember, since I am not this body, is this really bothering me? Okay. We'll try to keep quiet and take a book, read from Prabhupada's purpose and chant Harnam, speak to the devotees and spend time in Krishna Katha. Okay. Regarding japa, at least don't engage my gross sense in any other activity and try to listen to my chanting. Okay. Karunatara, by praying to acharyas. Okay. Think that Krishna is there seeing me. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Master, I will stay off WhatsApp until 11 a.m. every day. Okay, that's it. That's tangible. That's practical. Okay. Measurable. So I can go deeper into my studies and stop working on my computer by 7 p.m. Again, tangible. So I can get up by 2:30 a.m. Again, tangible. If I do it and if I don't do it, it's very easy to understand. So that I can, and what is the purpose of this? So I can go deeper into my japa and my studies. Wonderful. That's what we're looking for. So it's a personal exercise. You do it yourself. I've been reading 2 hours every day while preaching every day. While preaching means outside the temple or inside the temple, no matter. I don't understand that one. I'm not very fond of reading, but after joining the course of Bhakti Shastri, fix the minimum 1 to 2 hours every day, irrespective of any schedule. Sachi Tanai Das, Prabhu, I think that 1 to 2 hours daily reading is a wonderful target, but it's also very high. Okay? So, if you set yourself a target which is hard to accomplish, you become frustrated and morose. Start small and maintain it and build up, but make sure it's done every day. Okay, I'm gonna just move on because we don't have the whole day. But you get the idea, right? Clear? So that's what we are supposed to do in our spiritual lives on a regular basis, because we do it, and then what happens after a while is that we lose track again, and we may go back to our old ways. It's like simple things. For example, not taking food after sunset for those who are healthy. Okay, not taking food after sunset is something helpful. You have good rest. You get up in the morning and you get up fresh, non eating before going to bed. It's just giving a rest to your system, keeps the mind. I mean, it's unlimited. The things that we can do to improve the quality of our consciousness, bring us to the mode of goodness and bring us to please our gurus. Okay, so I'll leave it there. This is taking a little longer than I expected to be, but never mind. I hope that you derive something out of this discussion. So now we're moving into the Chatusloki Bhagavatam. So now the sequence of what has taken place was that valuable? This discussion, was it valuable?
Very much, Prabhuji. Very much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this.
Yeah, Krishna consciousness, we have to take action, basically, we have to take action. It's like, a nectar of instruction is essence is practical activity. Oh, Krishna is in my heart. Krishna's in my heart. I love the devotees so much. I like to serve the devotees. Yes. How is that manifested, reflected in your life? That Krishna is in your heart. That you like to please the devotees. It's a challenge. Okay, so the second part of this chapter that we're moving now, basically the Lord is pleased with Lord Brahma by his tapasya, and Brahma is going to inquire from the Lord. And the answers to these questions by Lord Brahma constitute the Chatushloki. So Brahma, after having heard the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, he recreates the universe as it was before. And we move on into chapter 10. So after having darshana of the Lord and his abode, Brahma asked 4 questions. The answer to these questions is the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the 4 essential verses containing the essence of the Bhagavad philosophy. Okay, so text 25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Brahmovacha Bhagavam Sarvabhutanam Adyaksha Vastito Guham Vedahya Apratirudena Pragyanina Chikirshitam. Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence. Any hindrance whatsoever, without any hindrance whatsoever. Next verse, 26. In spite of that, my Lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all. So it's interesting the way Lord Brahma asks, because it's like he's saying in one sense that you are in my heart, and therefore you're well aware of everything that is going on in my heart. But even though you know everything that is going on in my heart, I still want to request this. I want to express what I want. And I want to be informed about, basically this question is the first question of Lord Brahma, which Prabhupada later on is going to explain that the first question is, describe your form, both in matter and in transcendence. Now, I'll tell you one thing just before we enter into this Chatushloki Bhagavatam, is that don't expect to be able to assimilate it all at once, all right? Disclaimer, is these verses are like nutshell, like seed verses, and you have like 18,000 verses that is the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, you have it compressed within 4 verses. So it's, you know, very hard unless you study many times that you're gonna get, you're gonna be able to unpack them properly. Okay, so I don't expect you to fully understand everything that's going to be explained here. And the reason I'm saying this, because each verse can be explained in different ways and different forms, and like they can be interpreted in different fashions. Okay, so first question, describe your form both in matter and in transcendence. All right. And please inform me how you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation. Second question, explain about your internal and external energies. Okay. Third question, O master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. Third question, how do you conduct your pastimes in relation to Maya and Yoga Maya? Fourth question, please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the personality, in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead. I may thus act instrumentally to generate living being entities without being conditioned by such activities. Fourth question, how can I execute my duty perfectly? Okay, so that was 1 second. My computer crashed. So a second. Text 29. Okay, so we're moving into text 30. Oh my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend. Thus with a, oh my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend, thus with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. Okay, so now we come to text 31, and this verse is very, very important. This verse is not part of the Chatushloki, it's what is called the prelude of the Chatushloki, and is spoken by the Lord, beginning to answer the questions of Lord Brahma. Okay, and in one sense, it summarizes the Chatushloki. Okay, so I'll read the Sanskrit. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Gyanam Paramaguhyam Me Yad Vijnana Samamvitam Sarahasyam Tadangam Cha Grihana Gaditam Maya. The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. Okay, so here are the questions. Prabhupada gives these questions in this purport, okay? What I was just reading to you, this is directly from Prabhupada's purports. First question was, what are the forms of the Lord, both in matter and in transcendence? Okay, the question is clear, right? How are the different energies of the Lord working? How does the Lord play with his energies? And how may Brahma be instructed to discharge the duty entrusted to him? Okay, so these are the 4 questions. Now, the Acharyas have explained this Chatushloki Bhagavatam in terms of Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayoyana. Okay, so for those who are not familiar with these terms, you can say that this is like a formula by which we can understand reality. So Sambandha refers to relationship, to the relationship that the living entity has with the Lord, with matter. Okay, so this is what is called Sambandha, with the Lord, basically with the Lord and with his energies. Okay, is knowledge, Sambandha Tattva. These are 3 tattvas: Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayoyana. Okay, so Sambandha is knowledge about the relationship with the field, relationship with, just one second, relationship with the field, relationship, the field with the environment, relationship with the Lord. When we understand who we are, what is my relationship with God, and what is my relationship with matter, with material nature, then, you know, I have like a, that becomes like the foundational, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by a phone call. That Sambandha Jnana becomes like a foundation, the foundation of our devotional practices, that wisdom, that understanding. Okay. Now, that's the acharyas have divided these questions in terms of Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayojana. Okay, just explain what Sambandha is. Okay, I got someone on the door. I need to answer to this. Just give me a second, okay? My apologies. Someone on the door. Okay. So the acharyas have divided this Chatusloki in Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayojana. The different verses refer to these different tattvas, okay? So the question in regards to what are the forms of the Lord, both in matter and in transcendence, is Sambandha Jnana. And how are the different energies of the Lord working? This is also falls into the category of Sambandha. Okay. Now, Prayojana, the meaning of Prayojana, it means basically what is the goal. What is the goal? Another meaning for Prayojana is what is the ultimate necessity, the ultimate need of the living entity, the ultimate objective of the living entity. That's Prayojana. Okay, and that's explained in the answer to the question, where the question is, how does the Lord play with his energies? I know at this moment everything is very cryptic, you could say, you know. How is it that how the Lord plays with his energies is Prayojana? Okay, this will become clearer as we go on with the presentation. So don't worry if you're not able to catch it. That's what I meant to say initially, okay? But at least we can understand the divisions of the questions in terms of Sambandha, Prayojana, and Avideya. So this we should understand at this point, okay? So that should be clear. Sambandha refers once again about the knowledge about the relationship between Ishvara, Prakriti, and Jiva. How they interrelate with each other. Okay? Prayojana is what is the ultimate goal, the ultimate necessity of the living entity. And we have Avideya. Avideya refers to the process by which we can attain the ultimate goal. All right? So that is that question by Lord Brahma, how may Brahma be instructed to discharge the duty entrusted to him? That falls into the category of Avideya. So now, the prelude, as we said, Jnanam paramaguhyame yat vijnana samamvitam sarahasyan tadangam cha grihana gaditam maya. So now, the 4 lines of this verse, all right, they correspond with the different verses of the Chatusloki and also with these divisions we're making between Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayojana. All right? So, Jnanam paramaguhyame, knowledge about me. Now, Krishna is speaking, okay? Supreme Personality of God, it said, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential. Sambandha Jnana. Yad Vijnana Samamvitam Sarrahasyan. It has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. Same. This is also Sambandha. Okay? Now, Tadangan cha Grihana, Tadangan cha Grihana Gaditam Maya. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. Actually, the Yad Vijnana Samamitam, let's look at the next slide, it's become clearer. Tadangan refers to Avideya, okay? And Prayoyana is there in the second line also. I'll show you in a minute. Gyanam Paramaguhyame Yad Vijnana Samamitam. Yeah?
Sorry, Prabhuji. In the previous slide, I missed which slok is which one. I got mixed up actually. Sorry.
Okay, it's coming here again. This is same. Okay, I'm explaining the same thing in this slide. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Gyanam Paramuham. Okay, so that first line, that in the previous sloka, knowledge about me is just a translation. Knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential. That is Sambandha. Okay, I just said it. Then Sarahasyan. It has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. That's Prayoyana. But also, actually, before Sambandha refers to Jnana and Vijnana. So what this Jnana and that was Vijnana is, we're going to explain in a minute. Okay? But we have here Jnanam Paraguhyame, that knowledge about me is very confidential. That's the Sambandha. And then that Yad Vijnana Samamvitam, that's also Sambandha, okay? And it'll become clear in a minute. And then Sarrahasyan is the topmost secret. Rahasyan means very secret, okay? So this is the Prayoyana. What is the topmost secret? And Tadangam Cha, that is the necessary paraphernalia for that process, okay? So that is going to be explained by me. Okay? And that's the answer to the 4 questions of Lord Brahma. Making sense so far? A little sense. I'm sorry my explanation is not the best. Is it making sense? A little bit?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So here. So
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
I thought Tadangam is the Abhideya, but you mentioned Abhideya is the confidential, that it's confidential. I thought Tadangam is the Abhideya.
No. Tadangan is not confidential. Tadangan is the process, the necessary paraphernalia.
So that is Abhideya, no?
That's the Abhideya. And Prayoyana is the Sarrahasyan. Okay? So again, Jnana. And now these verses are explained also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, Adilila, text 51 to 55, I believe. And it's worth going deep into this section, I must say, because it's very. If we get some understanding of this, it can be very, very helpful in our spiritual lives. Very helpful. And very helpful in our understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam also. Now, so what is this jnana? Okay. The Lord indicates that he's going to answer Brahma's questions as follows. Okay, with this prelude of the Chatushloki. Jnana means knowledge. Knowledge means to understand the Lord's personal form, which is far more confidential than realization of his impersonal feature. Okay, so that's connected to the first question of Lord Brahma. What are your forms, in matter and in transcendence? Okay. So knowledge to understand the Lord's personal form is far more confidential than realization of his impersonal feature or any other aspect of the Lord. Okay? And a vigyan is the application of this knowledge. Vigyan literally means realized knowledge. So now someone who applies, who have actually realized this understanding of the Lord's personal form and his relationship with the material world, then he gets this realization that since the Lord's attributes are transcendental, one can only realize them by his grace. Okay. Now, moreover, because the Lord is absolute, the perception, now this is the key point, the perception of anything separate from him is called Maya. Verse 34 elaborates on this. And this is Prabhupada's words, directly taken from different purports. It's not my own explanation. Okay? Sarahasyam. Now,
Prabhuji, I'm sorry to disturb you. Can you explain me the last jnana?
Jnana, okay. So I'm just going to make it simpler, actually. Okay, jnana means knowledge of the personal form of the Lord. Okay? Vigyan means that once we actually understand who is the Lord and the Lord's relationship with the material world, we understand that actually there is nothing else but the Lord. Nothing is separate from the Lord. All right? Because the Lord is all there is. So, okay, because this is the prelude. Okay, this is the prelude. We're going to go through all the verses in a minute. So we're going to go in detail with all the verses. All right? So it's a prelude, just introduction. Even if you don't catch it, doesn't matter too much. When we come to those verses, it'll become more clear. And if it doesn't become clear at that point, then we can, explore it further. Sarahasyan. Prema Bhakti is the most confidential goal, Rahasyan. Okay? This mystery is love of God. What is that? Okay, tell me, what is that? What is that referred to in terms of Sambandha, Videya, and Prayojana? What does it refer to?
Prayojana.
Thank you. Okay, good. We're good so far. Now, Tadangam, the means by which we can achieve this confidential goal is sadhana bhakti. Srila Prabhupada writes, and to attain the stage of transcendental love of Godhead, regulative principles of devotional service must be followed. Such regulative principles are mainly based on hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord. This process is indicated in verse 36. Okay, so we are getting an overall picture of what's coming, right? I hope, as the answers to Lord Brahma's questions. Now, text 32 is also prelude to the Chaturshloki. All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. Okay, so this is beautiful purport. And what is the essence of this verse? The essence of this verse is that we cannot understand the Lord without his mercy. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, and it's explained all the way through the Vedic literatures. We cannot understand the Lord without his mercy. So Prabhupada writes at the beginning of the purport, the secret of success in understanding the intricacies of knowledge of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is the causeless mercy of the Lord. It's a beautiful purport, actually. I'll read a little more, okay? It says, even in the material world, the father of many sons discloses the secret of his possession to the pet sons. The father discloses the confidence unto the son who he thinks worthy. An important man in the social order can be known by his mercy only. Similarly, one must be very dear to the Lord in order to know the Lord. The Lord is unlimited. No one can know him completely. But one's advancement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord can make one eligible to know the Lord. Here we can see that the Lord is sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his costless mercies to him, so that Brahmaji may have the factual realization of the Lord by his mercy only. Now, how did Brahma attain the mercy of the Lord? This is why we just explained the section about the penance of Lord Brahma. He pleased the Lord by his sacrifice, by his penance. He attained the mercy of Krishna. Okay? So, very essential aspect of our epistemology, you could say, in Krishna consciousness, or our philosophy, our theology, is that the Lord reserves the right to be exposed to anyone. And he has established a system. And even if you do your sadhana and you do everything, if the Lord chooses not to expose himself, our sadhana will have no effect. He's totally independent. So now the question will be how we can actually please the Lord so that we get this factual realization. Like, we're practicing Krishna consciousness for some years. We are inspired to one degree or another, right? We're making sacrifices in our lives. We're molding our lives so that we can remember the Lord and fix our minds on Krishna. But for an outsider, it may look weird. What happened to this guy? Why are you doing like this? But it's not that we all kind of brainwash crazy, people. Krishna is revealing himself to one degree or another. We're getting some revelation, and that revelation is inspiring us to surrender more and more and more. But someone who has not got that revelation, why would you do all these things? No? Why would you do those things? And no matter how you try to explain it to them, they won't be able to catch it. It's like most of us, when we first came to Krishna consciousness and we became very excited, we wanted to tell our family, our parents, this is so good. And maybe some of us, you did tell them. And what was the response? It's like, what's going on with you, I mean, it's taken me like over 25 years to get my father to kind of appreciate Krishna consciousness, Right? So that revelation is taking place by Krishna's mercy. So I wanted to say, because this is such an essential aspect that is not by our own efforts. So, and I'm bringing this aspect there because, on our previous discussion, we were saying, okay, I will get up every day. I will go to Mangalarti every day. I will get up at 3 o'clock before Brahma Muhurta. I'm not going to waste time in Prayalpa. I will not do this. I will not like that. But if that becomes permeated by my consciousness that I am the doer, I'm not the servant, then it becomes spoiled. You understand what I mean? That we should always be dependent on the Lord. I hope I'm not confusing things here, but it's just because sometimes, we may become like this, trying to do things in a way which is mechanical or which is not pleasing to Krishna, at the expense of causing harm to other devotees, to other people who are around us. Jamastami Prabhu.
It seems like a real key, to pleasing Krishna is having the proper mood in our japa. And that kind of sets the standard of our consciousness for the rest of the day. And if we do that on a daily basis, it sets the standard of our consciousness of just wanting to please Krishna, knowing that he's the controller and we're just his servant. And that kind of mood that we can enter into it in japa just becomes very deep then. And this is when the holy name descends in a very powerful way, when we have that, the mood that you're describing, and that's how it can be set, is through the japa. And that's why Prabhupada put such a high emphasis on that.
Thank you. And I advise everyone to take Jamastami Prabhu's words to heart, because he lives by what he's saying right now. He's been doing this for 41 years.
44.
44. And he's there at the Samadhi every morning. He chants all his rounds every morning without fail for 44 years. So that is painstaking, but he is the greatest happiness and the greatest joy. And this kind of practice is what keeps us grounded in Krishna consciousness. And it sets the mood. So I agree 100%. This is our most important activity. And the moment we neglect that, then our whole spiritual life becomes jeopardized or compromised.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I ask one thing?
Yeah.
You mentioned just now that we get up early and go to Mangala Aarti, and you also said that if we start thinking that we are the doer, then after this I could not make out what you said.
Basically, when I'm trying to say that this bhakti is an affair of the heart has to be involved. It's not just like, my being the doer, like I remember chanting my rounds, okay, I'm gonna chant my rounds in 1 hour and 45 minutes, and I was racing to the racing to the rounds and trying to achieve chanting my rounds in certain amount of time, and I forgot about the actual purpose of doing the activity, which is to please Krishna. So if I'm going to Mangalarti, the purpose of going to Mangalarti is to please Krishna. And if I am, for example, interrupted by something that may happen, like a devotee needs help, or you have some family duty or something, if I am in the mood that I'm doing this to please Krishna, I will be able to accommodate whatever challenges may come in my life. But if I am in the mood of, I'm gonna do this and that's it, that's right, I may neglect I may neglect someone needing help. I may neglect some family duty, because my goal is, to, achieve this today. My goal is to please Krishna. My goal is not to go Mangalarti every morning. My goal is to please Krishna. That's the highest goal. Okay? And in order to do that,
thank you very much.
In order to do that, I'm doing these things. I'm chanting my rounds, but it's to please Krishna. We cannot take that out. It's not about being a pujari or being the top book distributor. I've seen it so many times. Devotees being top book distributors, and then when the scores were not coming, they became so frustrated. Some of them even gave up book distribution. The goal was not to please Krishna. The goal was to be the top book distributor, and not for the right reason. You know what I mean? Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, very, very clear. I am very grateful to you. It helped me understand the very important, subtle thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are doing everything we're doing in our lives. It's like, I'm a householder, okay, for example, and I have decided that for the next month, I'm going to get my rounds done by 6 a.m. in the morning. That's it. And then my wife comes to me with the baby, has some fever or something, and I already got up. I only have enough time to chant my rounds by 6 a.m. no, leave me alone. I gotta do my sadhana, get lost, You think Krishna is gonna be more pleased by you fulfilling your vow like that, or by actually attending to the needs of another devotee? I'm just trying to kind of make it the concept a little broad, that we don't become like, fanatical about anything. Krishna consciousness is an affair of the heart. That's my point, is that you have to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And that may be sometimes that we're going to have to, do things that we resist to do. Clear? Okay, so here I think it's going to become more clear as we go through this. This is one of my favorite quotes in the whole of Prabhupada's books, okay? And this is coming from the Chaitanya Charitamrita on these verses, okay? We cannot discover the mysteries of the Lord by our mundane endeavors. They are only revealed by His grace to the proper devotees. These mysteries are gradually disclosed to the various grades of devotees in proportion to the gradual development of their service attitude. I am a servant, I am a servant, I am a servant. Of whom? Of the devotees. It's very powerful. Very powerful. Krishna consciousness, contrary to other practices like Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, these other practices, they're very much depending on your own efforts. Krishna consciousness is not depending. Wow, is the sound good? I have the mic all the way away. How is the sound? Is it better now?
Yes, Prabhuji, actually I was thinking of telling you, requesting you that sound today is little low.
Why didn't you tell me? My God, I had all the mic away all this time. Hare Krishna. I guess it was Krishna's mercy, because throughout the class I was saying to myself, I'm being too loud today. I should be a bit more mellow. Krishna put the mic away to prevent you from hearing me like shouting. Hare Krishna.
I heard you fine up until now.
Anyway, I think it was Krishna's mercy in one sense. Yeah. Okay. So I was saying that, what I was saying, I forgot.
You said that, Prabhuji, I am a servant of devotees, and Krishna consciousness is an affair of the heart.
Yeah, that contrary to other practices, Krishna consciousness is not just depending on our efforts, it's depending on the Lord's mercy. We need to get this right. All the other processes is about my own effort, depending on me, but not depending on Krishna. And we please Krishna by our development of a service attitude. Okay. So now we come to the Chatusloki. We're not going to read it now. We're going to actually move into. I'm going to consolidate the summary of the Chatusloki, okay? Before we read it. In the first of these verses, is four. Chatu means four. In the first of these verses, the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna is explained. All right? That was, remember the question of Lord Brahma. What are your forms in matter and in transcendence? Second verse explains how the Lord is detached from the workings of the material energy, Maya. The living entities, although parts and parcels of the Lord, are prone to be controlled by the external energy. I'm taking this from Prabhupada's books, different places. And it's what I'm telling you, that it's so many different ways to approach these verses. But as we go through the verses now, we'll give you could say like an explanation, a follow-up from 33 to 36. Just introducing you. Okay, so, excuse me, it says, the living entities, although parts and parcels of Lord Krishna, are prone to be controlled by the external energy. Therefore, although they are spiritual in the material world, they are encased in bodies of material energy. The eternal relationship, again, sambandha, of the living entities with the Supreme Lord is explained in that verse 34. All right? Now, 35 instructs that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable energies, is simultaneously one with and different from the living entities and the material world. This knowledge is called Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. When an individual living entity surrenders to Krishna, he can develop natural transcendental love for him. This surrendering process should be the primary concern of a human being. And text 36, it is said that a conditioned soul must ultimately approach a bona fide spiritual master and try to understand perfectly the material and spiritual worlds and his own existential position. Okay. So now we come to the Chatusloki. All right. That was all introduction. Text number 1 of the Chatusloki, 2933. Aham eva sam eva gre nanyat yat sat asat param paschat aham yat etacha yo vasishyeta sosmyaham. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now, is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will be also I, the personality of Godhead. So, in these words, the word aham is used 3 times to emphasize the personal aspect of the Lord. Okay? Aham evasam evagre nanya yat sadasat param paschat aham yat eta cha yo vasishyate sosmi aham. So aham, I. Jiva Goswami says that the Lord is speaking to Brahma, and he's pointing to his chest with his finger. I, aham. Okay? It's not an impersonal void. No, I, the personality of Godhead. So the impersonal is, 3 times. The Lord is a person. Okay? Bhagavad Gita, you find the same. Aham, so many times. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Matat sarvam pravartate. It's a very similar verse. Chatusloki, first verse of Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita. Huh? I am the source of all the spiritual and the material worlds. Okay? So the same thing. Now, the Acharyas explain, and this is taken from the purports. These purports are some of the longest purports in the Bhagavatam. In fact, text 36 is the second longest purport in the Bhagavatam. So now this I, the Lord is speaking, I existed before the creation. What you see now is also I, and what remains after the creation is also I. Okay? In other words, there is nothing but myself. And the Acharyas explain that this I includes not only the Lord, but his abode, his associates, and all his opulence, just as a king is always followed by his attendants and royal paraphernalia. Okay, so the I that existed before the creation, the I that exists during the creation, and what remains at the end of the creation when the material creation is annihilated, that I is not only Krishna, but is Krishna and the spiritual world, with all his associates, with all the all the Vaikuntha Vasis, with all the Goloka Vasis. That's I. Okay. So now this verse and the next explains Sambandha, or the understanding of the Lord and his energies. There is nothing else by the Lord. Jammadhyasya yataha. Everything emanates from the Lord. There is nothing outside of him. He is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. There is a transcendental reality, which is the Lord, which is eternal. And what we are seeing now, it is also the Lord. Because there is nothing outside of him. There is no, one time Prabhupada was asked by a reporter, he was told, is God love? And Prabhupada said, yes. And he is also hate. The problem is that we see things separate from God. Once we understand that there is only I, we understand that everything that exists is God. So one who has this realization, one who actually understands this realization has, or that realization of this first verse is the second verse of the Chatusloki Bhagavatam. This verse. All right? Ritartam yat pratijeta na pratijeta chatmani tadvidyat atmano mayam yatha baso yathatamam. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Now, basically, whatever we value in this world, whatever we are attracted to in this world, what is that? Is the Lord. Why? Because there is nothing else but the Lord. But the illusion is that we see it separate from the Lord. We see the world, and that seeing things disconnected from the Lord is Mahamaya. Seeing things connected with the Lord is Yoga Maya. So Maya means to see what is not. So when I am seeing this world, when I am seeing in this world something apart from the Lord or separate from the Lord, then I understand that I am in Maya. It's no longer like in the Christian theology that there is this, ongoing competition between God and Satan. And sometimes Satan is winning, sometimes God is winning, It's not like that. The absolute truth includes everything. So the implications when we are actually, what are the implications of this? This is what I was telling you, we were discussing before when we were just discussing about the penance of Lord Brahma and how Prabhupada explains in one of the purports that sometimes by force, he may snatch the material possessions of the materialistic devotee. You see, for someone who has got this understanding of Krishna consciousness, whatever is happening in his life, he sees that as the arrangement of the Lord, as Krishna's mercy. Someone who is not in Krishna consciousness, we have the choice. We can see things as transcendental arrangement of the Lord, or we can see things separately from the Lord. Is it making sense? First and second verse of the Chatushloki making sense so far? Because now we're describing the thing.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you mentioned that we see things separate from the Lord. It is Mahamaya, and we see things as a part of Lord, that is Yogamaya. Is this correct understanding?
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Other way around. Other way around.
Can I ask Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Thank you. Prabhuji, like we say, we are responsible for our karma. Law. I mean, so what is that? What is how can we relate it with Lord? I mean, he said, na, Lord is not doing, it is our karma which is making us do. I mean, what are we experiencing? It is because of the karma. That's the thing.
So it is all karma's fault, right?
Our karma.
I didn't get up this morning on time for Mangalarti because it was my karma. Is that what you're saying?
No. Like whatever bad or good we are doing, I mean, what we are getting, that is the thing. So it is because
That's the point. No, that's the point. Karma is what you're getting, and your free will is how you respond to that. Okay?
Thank you.
It's a difference there. Yeah. All right. So let's take a few points from the purport. Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Okay, here it is. Seeing things disconnected from the Lord is called Mahamaya. Seeing everything in connection with the Lord is called Yoga Maya. Both the Maya also have connections with the Lord, because nothing can exist without being related to Him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false, but illusory. The illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. So the material world, is it real or is it false? Someone who has not said anything. Dineshwara Krishna Prabhu. Is the material world real or false?
Prabhu, the material world is false but illusionary.
Okay, so let's make the distinction. What is the distinction between false and illusion? Illusory.
Yeah, so basically false meaning it exists, but it's not reality.
False means it exists, but it's not reality. Okay, you're on the right track. Can you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, it's stated that it's a perverted reflection of the spiritual sky. So illusionary. So shall I go on to the second component? Illusionary?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So that which is not, you were explaining earlier about Maya.
Come on, you gotta expand it. You gotta expand it. I am new to this Krishna consciousness. I have no clue what you're talking about. Come on, tell me. Is the world false? Is it real? What is all? Is illusion? You're talking about illusion? What is all this?
Yeah, no, false meaning that it exists, but it's not reality.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
Okay, meaning that I just need a moment to think about this, Prabhu, so I can put it in a proper context. Can I come back to you in a minute?
Sure. Someone like to help with this? Is the world real? Is it false? Is it illusionary? How do you what is our understanding of the material world? The absolute truth. What is absolute truth? What is relative truth? Vira Gopal, Prabhu.
Pranams. So my understanding is that the world is real because it exists, but our relationship that it's permanent and a place of enjoyment, our interpretation is incorrect. Therefore, that's the illusion that we think that it's a place for happiness and permanence, because the real permanence and happiness actually does exist. Therefore, the world in a way is a reflection of the absolute truth.
Nice. Thank you. Very good. Exactly. Murari Prabhu, you wanted to, do you have something else?
Yes, I was thinking about how Srila Prabhupada is giving this example as a dream.
Okay.
You know, like we are sleeping in the dream, and the dream is like, in one sense, just illusion. But in the dream, we feel, and we are acting and doing all the things. But when we awake, we understand that it was just the dream. So it was not the reality.
But there is a difference there, because when you wake up from a dream, nothing of the dream exists, okay? But
Yeah.
in the material world, when you wake up from the illusion, still the material world is there, okay? So I mean, I just kind of giving that nuance. It's a good example, and I accept it. Vidya Gopal put it very nicely. So for example, say here in Mayapur, sometimes you're walking down the road and it's dark in the at nighttime, and sometimes you may see a branch or a rope, okay? And when you see it with a little light and the shadows, sometimes it appears to be a snake. Prabhupada uses the same example. Many of Prabhupada's examples became very alive for me once I moved to India. Somehow in the West, I wasn't faced with the same kind of situations, you know? But this is a common thing. You are walking down the road and then you see something which appears to be a snake. And when you see that rope and you think that it's a snake, you have the same feelings running through your body as if it will be a snake. Now, the rope is real. The snake is also real, but I'm attributing the qualities of the snake to the rope. So I'm seeing something which is not. So it's like Vidya Gopal Prabhu said, like, for example, you know, in the material world, we have family, we have friends, we have father, we have mother, but we think that this is the real father, the real mother, and they are not. It's a temporary situation. It's not permanent. So the problem with the material, the loose, and going back to Prabhuji, which Dineshwara Prabhu was a person that I was explaining before, you know, that yes, we see the material world, the Mayavadis, they say is false. It's not false. The material energy exists. It's actually, you know, an eternal energy of the Lord. But the illusion is our perception of the material energy being separate from the Lord. That's the illusion. Clear? It's a few hands up. Let's see who is hands up. Asaf, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm just now writing on the chat Prabhupada's definition for illusion. So he's saying accepting one thing for another, accepting one thing for another thing.
Yeah, you accept. You see the rope,
34.
and you accept it as a snake. Yeah. You see this wall, and you accept this wall as a place for enjoyment. You see a beautiful woman, and you fail to see the soul. You see the form, and you want to enjoy the form. We take this material body, and I think that I am this body. That's the illusion. I am not this body. I have a body. But due to the influence of the material energy, I think I am this body. That's the illusion. Okay, so we have here, wall is real but temporary. Yes. Material wall is real but called false as it is temporary. It's temporary in the sense, you see, that it's ever changing. We attribute things to the material. It's like we talk about relative truths and absolute truths. So an absolute truth is that which is independent. It's not depending on anything else. Krishna is God, is the supreme personality of Godhead, is always the truth. That we are the eternal servants of Krishna, that's also an absolute truth. We're always the absolute, we're always the eternal servants of Krishna. But a relative truth is that which is dependent on certain conditions. Therefore, it's temporary. It's not always the truth. Like H2O is water, is liquid. Is it truth? Is it absolute or is it relative? It's relative. Why? Because if you raise the temperature of H2O to over 100 degrees, it's no longer liquid. It becomes gas. And if you drop the electricity to below zero, it becomes solid. Okay, so material world is illusion or reality, even not false also. It's not false, exactly. What I could understand because it is not, it is real, not false, but illusionary. Correct, precise. Well done. Okay, so did we read all the points here? 1 second. As such, the wrong conceptions of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false, but illusory. The illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. You wanted to add something?
No, I'm sorry, that was from before.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just I wanted to repeat the difference between absolute truth and relative truth. You mentioned that absolute truth is always independent and relative truth depends upon certain conditions, and it is not always the truth. Like you explained the water. Is this correct? Relative truth depends upon certain conditions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like the building, where are you, Mahavira? You're in Delhi, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The building that you are sitting on right now,
yes, Prabhuji.
That building is in Delhi, is not an absolute truth. It's a relative truth because that building wasn't there 100 years ago and it probably won't be there in 100 years. So it's ever changing, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Like you are the son of your father, it's not, it's a relative truth because you were the son of your father in this lifetime, but previous lifetime you were the son of someone else. And in your future life, you'll be the son of someone else.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So if I identify myself with the relative truth, I am in Maya.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Dineshwara Prabhu, you have your hand up?
Yes, Prabhu. I'm just trying to, just had a thought. Do we know the material world exists? Is there a distinction between real and reality? Is it two separate concepts?
What do you mean by real and reality? Depends on what you mean by that.
So what you said was the material world is real. Then is it the same meaning as reality? If we're saying the material world is real, we accept it as reality.
Well, this is exactly what is being explained in these verses of the Chatusloki, that the reality is to see it in connection with Krishna. The reality is to see that this is an energy of the Lord, which is eternal, but is temporary. The illusion will be to see that the material world is a place for my enjoyment. The material world is a facility for me to, to control and to lord it over. That's the illusion. To see that I am the doer, that I am the controller. This is the illusion. I am out of the reality because the reality is that I am totally dependent on the Lord. And this is Krishna's energy acting under his control all the time. Okay, let's move on. Is that making sense, at least what I just said? Clarifying
yes,
a little? Yeah?
Yes.
Asaf, you have your hand up from before or is a new hand up? Okay, down. Okay, so we're moving on. Now, here it is. Whoops, sorry. I have a few things on my screen. Give me just 1 second. Now, the same verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, as I said, you find the same verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita with different purports, okay? The absolute truth is substance, and the relative truth depends upon its relationship with the absolute for its existence. Maya means energy. Therefore, the relative truth is explained to be the energy of the absolute truth. Since it is difficult to understand the distinction between the absolute and relative truths, an analogy can be given for clarification. The absolute truth can be compared to the sun, which is appreciated in terms of two relative truths, reflection and darkness. Darkness is the absence of sunshine, and a reflection is a projection of sunlight into the darkness. Neither darkness nor reflection has an independent existence. So darkness refers to the material world, the material energy, and the reflection refers to the living entities. You may remember, I don't know if you did this, but we certainly did when we were kids. In the classroom, sometimes the sunlight will come through the window and we use our watches, to project that light from the sunshine into the blackboard where the teacher was teaching or playing on some of the other students. It's a reflection in the darkness, right? So the living entity is like that, like that reflection into the darkness of the material world. Okay, so here it is. The material energy may be compared to darkness, and the activities of the living entities in the darkness are reflections of the original light. The activities, actually. When the material manifestation appears very wonderful, this is due to a perverted reflection of the supreme sunshine, the absolute truth. Whatever we can see here has its substance in the absolute. So the material world, as wonderful it may appear to be, is just a reflection of the reality of the spiritual world. In darkness, no one can see things in a room. Now, this is another point from this verse. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions, although they may not be such things. But in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Okay. So we're moving into text 35. We'll do a little more recap of these things. Can you see here in the chat box? Shiva's Pandit. Mayavadi say Brahma Satya Jagat Mitya, but it is wrong, as material world is not Mitya and real, precise. Okay, this very important understanding of our Vaishnav, theology, our Vaishnav Siddhanta. The Mayavadis consider that the absolute cannot be divided. Okay, if the absolute will be divided, it will become transformed. And therefore, they consider that the variegatedness in the material world is false. It doesn't really exist. But Prabhupada explains that the logic is faulty because the very definition of the Lord is that he is not bound by material rules. So the Lord can expand himself throughout the whole universe and still remain separate. And this is what is going to be explained in this verse. This is perhaps the most complicated of all, okay? I mean, they are all deep and difficult to, it's a lot of meaning to these verses. But this one is particularly intricate because it's presented in a very indirect way, okay? So I'll read. Yata mahanti bhutani bhutesu cha vasechanu pravishtani apravishtani tatateshu nateshwaham. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I'm outside of everything. Now, you tell me how this is prayojana, how is this the ultimate goal, how this verse answers the question by Brahma, how does the Lord place with his energies? That's why we need the acharyas. That's why we need the commentaries of the previous acharyas, because otherwise it's difficult, right? So Krishna is saying, just as the elements of creation remain simultaneously inside and outside of all created beings, similarly, I, Krishna, although remaining in Vaikuntha, enter and become active in the hearts of my devotees. I manifest myself internally in their mental activities and externally in their sensual activities due to the devotees possessing rahasya, prema bhakti. So the example is given, in the material universe, they are the elements in the material universe, and the coverings of the material, the covering of the material universe are the different elements. And also those elements, they also exist in the spiritual world as personalities. So they enter, Krishna is using an analogy to explain that they, at the same time that even the material elements enter into the material universe and remain outside, he himself also, he enters within the material universe, not only, he's all pervading, but he enters into the heart of his devotees. And at the same time that he is residing in their hearts and manifesting internally in their mental activities by revelation, and externally in their sensual activities that they are able to perceive the Lord remains aloof in Vaikuntha. And this is the philosophy presented by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, that the Lord is all pervading. The Lord, at the same time that he is all pervading, there is nothing apart from the Lord. At the same time that the Lord is everywhere and is expanded everywhere and is in everything, he remains aloof. Achintya is inconceivable. How can you be everywhere and at the same time remain aloof? How can you be in every single place? How can you be inside and outside? Is it possible? Even just to think about it, it's like, how? But that's the Lord. And this is explained in connection with the intimate relationship that the Lord has with his devotees who have prema. They are never separated from him. In this verse, Krishna indicates the prayojana, prema bhakti, in a hidden way, since it is his most confidential secret. That Krishna likes to speak indirectly is confirmed by the following statement: Parokshavada rishaya paroksham mamacha priyam. The Vedic seers and mantras deal in esoteric terms, and I am also pleased by such confidential descriptions. As Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, just as the elements are present inside and outside the universe, for those who have bhakti, the attributes of the Lord are televised in their hearts, although also happening outside in Goloka, Vrindavan. Okay, so this is, again, one of my favorite purports. I mean, not that that's something important for you, but I just like to share it with you because it's very beautiful and again, very instructive. The most confidential secret, okay? His existence can be realized but by one who has the single qualification of submissiveness and who thereby becomes a surrendered soul. The development of submissiveness is the cause of proportionate spiritual realization, by which one can ultimately meet the Supreme Lord in person, as a man meets another man face to face. Okay. So the single qualification of submissiveness, and therefore one becomes a surrendered soul. Now, the development of submissiveness is the cause of proportionate spiritual realization. Of his development of transcendental attachment for the Supreme Lord, a surrendered soul feels the presence of his beloved everywhere, and all his senses are engaged in the loving service of the Lord. This is the prayoyana. This is the ultimate goal of all the Vedic scriptures. Bhagavatam is the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is the essence of the Vedas. The commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the self-same author is this Srimad Bhagavatam. And the four nutshell verses, essential verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam is this Chatushloki. And the ultimate goal is actually realizing, is attaining this pure love of God. And those who have attained this pure love of God, they only see Krishna. Or they see Krishna everywhere, within their hearts and within everything, because of their eyes tinged by the salve of love. So his nose is engaged in smelling the spiritual aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, his ears are engaged in hearing messages from Vaikuntha, and his hands embrace the lotus feet of the Lord and his associates. Thus, the Lord is manifested to a pure devotee from within and without. This is one of the mysteries of the devotional relationship, in which a devotee and the Lord are bound by a tie of spontaneous love. To achieve this love should be the goal of life for every living being. Krishna's message to the gopi. I know it's a very dense class. I hope, if you need to stretch, your arms, and we didn't have a break also, but 5 more minutes. The Supreme Lord said, "You're never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of all creation, as the elements of nature, ether, air, fire, water, and earth, are present in everything and every created thing. So I am present within everyone's mind, life, affairs, and senses, and also within the physical elements and the modes of material nature." Same principle being explained by Krishna to the gopis. Okay, so that's text 35. Now, so that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal, is to develop, to attain that. So do like a little recap. First verse is explaining about who is Krishna, who is the Lord. Those second verse, those who have realized, what is the vision of those who have realized the Lord? Okay, that's Sambandha. Whatever we see is the Lord, and if we see anything separate from the Lord, is Maya. Now, those who have actually acting according to this principle, and those who develop, those who attain the ultimate goal, they see the Lord within their own hearts, and they see the Lord within everything. They're in constant connection with the Lord. So that verse 35 is the prayoyana. And now the Abhideya is giving us text 36. Sometimes the devotees ask, well, why is the prayoyana given before the Abhideya? And the answer is very simple. Because when we know what the goal is, we become inspired to attain that goal. So the prayoyana is given before the Abhideya to inspire us to understand that those devotees who have attained the ultimate goal, the ultimate necessity of the living entity. This is Jiva Goswami explains that this prayoyana is the ultimate necessity. What is it that we are hankering for? What is it that emptiness in our hearts that needs to be filled, that we are not feeling, we're feeling alienated in this world? What is that? Is priti. Priti means love, love for God. Those who have that love, they are seeing the Lord, they have a relationship with him, they're never separated from him, from the absolute truth, which is the fountainhead of everything. Whatever beautiful things we see in this world is just by a spark of his splendor. Having that connection, that union. So now text 36 explains the Abhideya. How do we attain the ultimate goal? Okay. So a person who is searching after the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Okay. So now we understand what is the sambandha, we understand what is the goal. Now the Abhideya is given. Okay. And what is the Abhideya? That if we want to do this, one must certainly look for it. In all circumstances, in all space, time, both directly and indirectly. And again, this is connected to what we were discussing about the penance of Lord Brahma. That if we want to attain the ultimate goal, then this is what is required. We must certainly look for it in all ways possible, at all times. That's the price for that realization. Those who are serious about the knowledge of the transcendental world, which is far beyond the material cosmic creation, must approach a bona fide spiritual master to learn the science both directly and indirectly. One must learn both the means to approach the desired destination and the hindrances to such progress. So again, you remember before we discussed about the advantages and the disadvantages of devotional service. We were discussing that in the previous class. So now directly and indirectly. Directly means to do those things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness, and indirectly means to avoid those things which are unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master, you can see I'm quoting a lot from Chaitanya Charitamrita. The spiritual master knows how to regulate the habits of a neophyte disciple, and therefore a serious student must learn the science in all its aspects from him. Here's the words Amvaya Vyatireka Avyam, directly and indirectly, suggest that one must learn the process of devotional service in its two aspects. One must directly execute the process of devotional service and indirectly avoid the impediments to the progress. Okay, so before that, because I see a couple of hands up, Asaf, Prabhu.
Can we take the Bhagavad Gita 10.10 and 11 as parallel to this?
As a what? Parallel?
Parallel.
Yeah.
Parallel to
yeah. You could say, because this is also the prayoyana, and the acharyas have explained that 10:10, okay? The sansatata yuktanam bhayatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yenamang upayantite. This verse can be realized at different, or applied at different levels, but the ultimate level is the constant communion with the Lord. Dadami buddhi yogantam. Those who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, they are getting that wisdom, that knowledge by which they can serve the Lord more. And to show them a special mercy, I, with the torchlight of knowledge, remove the ignorance. Okay, So yeah, there is a parallel there, correct? Dineshwara Krishna Prabhu. Is a hand from before or from now?
Prabhu, actually, it was a hand from before.
Okay.
It's fine. We can continue.
Okay. But you can take it down so I don't get confused. Mahavira Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji, you mentioned that Prayojan is mentioned before Abhide. So the logic you mentioned, I was not able to understand probably.
The logic is that sometimes before telling you what you need to do to attain the goal, I tell you what the goal is. If when I have a clear understanding of what is the goal, then I am more interested in understanding what is it that I need to do to get the goal. Okay, so
Yes,
I'm telling
yes.
you. Okay, clear, fine.
Clear. Thank you.
Okay, so it's 3 o'clock. So I'm respecting the time set up for everybody's time. So we'll finish the class at this moment, and then we'll continue tomorrow. So there was some, homework that I requested you to do about preaching points from these verses. I hope that after today's presentation, you can get a more, clear about what are some of the preaching points of these 4 verses. I think it's a nice exercise for you to kind of consolidate the discussion today and the learning, that you write down what are some preaching points. I mentioned a few during the class. I didn't mention them all for sure. There's so many more. Okay, so we'll finish here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Manchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyavacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha.
Tomorrow is 1:45 again.
Oops.
Tomorrow we start early again, right?
Tomorrow, yeah. I mean, I don't want to put pressure on anybody. I just hope that was okay. If it wasn't, I mean, not everybody came earlier, so if you want, we can stop at 1 o'clock. I'm your servant. I really felt like that I needed to go in greater depth about the penance of Lord Brahma, and that was the initial reason why I asked for 15 minutes extra. Tomorrow, if we have 15 minutes more, it's gonna help. It's the last class tomorrow, so I also warn you, usually the last class goes longer. That's been the usual case in my, attempts to finish on time. Usually the last class goes for 10 minutes. No, a lot longer, but usually it takes a little longer. So if we start earlier, it's gonna help, but you decide. For me, it's fine. If anyone cannot make it at 1:45 tomorrow, just send me a private message. You don't need to put it on the group or anything. And then we'll start at 1. We can do the same as today. We can also do a little recap. So just if there is anyone who cannot make it, just please inform me privately. Okay. Okay, it's a hand up somewhere. There we have someone. Is it Vira Gopal? Or who is it?
I just wanted to, first of all, thank you again for making such amazing effort to present everything so nicely. And I think the least what we as students can do is to allow you the time that you feel is necessary. And it's a blessing that you're, giving all this time. I don't think personally that you need to be making such a compelling statement every time for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Please forgive me. It touches my heart, your commitment. And yes, I don't feel that, 15 minutes or even half an hour is a big deal. I just wanted to express it because I felt quite strongly. Thank you.
It's well taken. Your point is well taken. Thank you. Okay, Mahavira Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, in the start of the class today, when you were just summarizing the whole thing, then you mentioned that Lord Brahma was basically bewildered when he was given the task of creation. So after that, you mentioned that he heard the word tapasya, and that tapasya he got it from his own heart, or he heard from the ear. So
both. He heard the words tapa outside, and from within his heart he got the inspiration to do it.
And then he did austerity, and then he basically did the creation. Before the creation, he made inquiries to the Lord how to do the creation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Karuna Tara Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I really wish to pay my obeisance, sincere obeisances, and I want to thank you. Like Prabhuji, you said the Lord feels happy if if you do something out of your comfort zone. So that is a live example which you gave us today, that you had a stomach ache. I mean, it was some stomach disorder. Still, you wanted to serve Lord, and that is why you took the class. So you are a live example to us. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I missed the second part, but anyway, the point is the initial point is correct. Krishna, Prabhupada writes, an easygoing and Krishna consciousness go ill together. So it's good. I find it's just good to accept, I say, embrace the purification. If we just expect that, things are gonna be easy, and I touch wood now because I am, we are all vulnerable living entities, and we have our weaknesses, but Krishna will not put us to something that we cannot. Krishna will not break us. Basically, in Spanish, there is a saying that God will grab you by the neck, but it will not strangle you. That saying, So it's like sometimes it feels like that. We feel, but we should accept that this is, and we're going to discuss that tomorrow actually, and about the preaching. I mean, if we start, I think okay. So we start at 1:45 tomorrow. And no one objected anyway today, so we can discuss a bit more about this point. That the idea is that we should be ready to pay any price to go back home, but to go back to Godhead. And generally, when we are doing austerity, when we're doing tapasya, we feel happier. Yes, it's just like the nature of, do you feel, I mean, it's just simple things, like when we overindulge, taking too much sugar, too many sweets, too much like, eating not at irregular times, indulging in the demands of the tongue, feels terrible. When you do some nice, like, getting up in the morning early, chanting a few rounds before Mangalarti, like following the morning program, actively participating, you feel charged, like, you're ready to take over the world, give you so much conviction.
Prabhuji, may I add one thing? First of all, I just said the second thing is you had a stomach disorder. Still, you wanted to do that seva. Like Her Grace Padma Sundari Mataji asked you, do you want to discontinue? You said, no, I want to continue with the class. That is a real example. And second,
well, I will say that a lot of the time service is a shelter also. I've done it many times that if you want to forget about your your problems, just get your mind engaged. Last night I woke up at 2:00 in the morning where I wanted to vomit, and my stomach is being upset. And I almost thought, okay, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do the class today. But you just go ahead and do it, and then it's much better than sitting down meditating on the indigestion. Better meditate on Krishna, right? Okay, Murari Prabhu, yeah.
One more thing I wish to add, that chanting, it is like, that's what I've heard, that it appears to be sour first. I mean, a taste is sour first, but later it is sweeter. It is sweet. Like a sweet.
I have one rule for japa. I find that don't stop until you break through. Like japa sometimes is like you're dragging your feet, and sometimes it can be like a grind, you know, dry. It's no matter what you do, it's not happening, it's not flowing. You cannot hear the names. You know, and the mind is giving you like some negativity or whatever. But if we stop at that point, we deprive ourselves from the bliss of breaking through all that, you know. And you can break through. It may take you 3 rounds. It may take you 15 rounds. You may just break off at the last round. But it's the nature of you know, doing that sacrifice. Krishna will reciprocate, you know. And that sometimes it's not just in japa, it's in our lives. We may go through periods where Krishna is more present in our lives. We may go through periods where Krishna appears to be more distant. We may be going through periods where we feel closer to our spiritual master, or we feel more distant, or whatever the case may be. But we should never give up. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then eventually we will reach at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. It's like that. It's, you know, as far as we are in the anartha nivriti level, is a bit like a roller coaster, you know. Then when we come to nishta, it's more like steady. And then it becomes easier and easier and easier. Murari Prabhu, thank you, Karunataramati. We have yeah.
Prabhu, I wanted actually ask one question from the last week, but there's no time. Can I ask now?
Yeah.
It was in text 24 about the Lord, that he is creating this world by penance. So I was wondering about this, that it just some doubt in my mind awake that why he needs to do some penance, you know, to creating this world, you know. Then in the verse is also said that it is by his energy, but you know, if you can something explain to me.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I'm trying to find the quote exactly, but I know what you're talking about, and I haven't fully understood it, to be honest, what it means. Let's read it. Let's find it. Is it in the purport? Whereabouts in the purport? Whereabouts in the purport is it? Text 24?
Not in the purport, in the translation.
Okay, translation. Text, which text?
24.
24. I create this cosmos by such penance. Okay, well, through Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma performed that tapasya, okay? So Lord Brahma is considered like an avatar of the Lord, right? He's empowered by the Lord. The Lord creates the universe through Brahma. Is the Guna avatar, right? Lord Brahma. So I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Maybe someone would like to add. Yamasnami Prabhu, you are an enlightened soul. Can you maybe comment on this a little more?
I don't know about being enlightened, but yeah, it seems to me that he's just talking about the penance that Lord Brahma performed. And so then also it's not necessarily that the Lord performs a penance, but I don't think that's what the case is. I maintain it by the same energy. I mean, but it's, you know, that nearness and dearness to heart that comes through penance. This is what is focused on in the purport too. So I don't think we need to be confused about that. He's just glorifying penance.
Yeah, I was looking more from the perspective about, you know, he says, "I maintenance by penance." My understanding, okay, I take, but thank you for that. It's like in the Bhagavad Gita also, it says that is, the Lord is within, within all acts of sacrifice. So, what keeps the world going is acts of sacrifice.
Right.
Is when we do activities for the pressure, for a higher purpose, for a higher goal. And that's the purpose of the creation. And that's what, that's by which the material world, the material universe works and functions and moves through sacrifice, through the performance of sacrifice. And of that sacrifice, the sacrifice in bhakti or devotional service as the sacrifice of Lord Brahma is the topmost. But in other words, the purpose of the material creation is or how we fulfill the purpose, or we align ourselves with the purpose of the material creation, is through the performance of sacrifice. That's the purpose of the material creation, is give us an opportunity to do sacrifice, to perform, and the way to get out of the material world is through the performance of sacrifice. And when we are not doing that, then we become entangled in the material existence, and we go down in the spiral. So that's my understanding. I mean, if that makes some sense.
Yes, if I properly understand, I have make a mistake to thinking that like Lord doing this penance, but he was more referring to the like you said, this material world is created and everything is done by this penance. Like yes.
He has. This is the difference between, and this goes back to the original question of Narada Muni to Lord Brahma, when he saw him performing meditation, and he was bewildered, because if he was doing some tapasya, some austerity, it meant that those tapasyas, those austerities were being done for someone else. So it meant that there was something higher than Lord Brahma. But the definition of the Lord is he's swarat, he's independent. He doesn't have to do any worship. He doesn't have to do any tapasya to improve himself, because he's complete. I didn't take the question that angle. I haven't understood it. What I was meditating upon is about how, everything is maintained by penance. That was my, and I tried to explain it with my limited understanding, but I think that's perhaps the right train of thought. Okay, it's really late. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granta Ram Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.